Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everybody. If you have a long day at work, you come home, walk through the door, and if you're not feeling that elated, happy, joyous feeling like, oh, I'm home, it feels good, or you walk into a room and it just, you just want to get on that couch and just relax. If it's just like, yeah, I'm home, whatever, you should change that. And you can with the help of a designer, because many of us don't know the principles, don't know the philosophy, don't know there's science behind it, by the way, that makes us all come together and makes us feel a certain way. I've got somebody that can help you feel that way in your home or even your workspace. And she's the owner and principal designer at Inspired Space Design. She is Nina Lares, and she's back with us on the program. Welcome. How are you?
Great, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. And what I'm talking about here, I practice what I preach. I'm going to be honest here. When I walk into my living room, which for most of us, it's pretty much after you get through the front door, it's all right. When I walk into my bedroom, I'm like, whoa, it feels good. And there's a lot of light in there. I got big windows and it has a certain vibe for me.
Yeah.
So back burner for me is changing up the living room area. It's working, but it's not working that well. Take us through the process. When somebody works with you, Nina, how does it work? Like, how do you know with their thinking so you can translate that into a design?
That's a great question. I guess if you and I were working together, the first thing I would ask is, what is it about your bedroom that gives you that feeling versus that feeling of your living room? Some people can articulate what that is. Some people can't. I always like to meet with people in their space. I want to go to your home. I want to see what it is that you love, what it is you'd like to change. I can walk in and pretty much have a good understanding of what may or may not be working for you. And then I think the most important part is just listening. Really, asking some leading questions and then really trying to listen to what they have to say and maybe even read between the lines. There's a little psychology in this process as well.
I would imagine so, that you have to get in their head. You have to figure out what's working for them. Like if you said to me, what do you think about browns and orange tones? Even though there's orange on my wall, that's different. That's I come to work, I need a hit. And that's my hit right there.
Energy. Yeah.
Exactly right. If you said it for my living room, I'd be like, I don't know. Meanwhile, my living room is essentially gray browns, those kind of tones. I love blues and greens. It makes me feel good. My bedroom isn't that, but I took that furniture from the house I had previously, and it was sort of a tropical vibe, the furniture.
Okay.
And to me, it kind of feels that way with the light that comes in the window and all of that. Not to mention, I got two huge closets. I feel like I'm at a store at like the Gap. It's very well organized. Yeah, I got lucked out on that one. Didn't put that in. I just inherited that. But
nice.
How do you identify the colors for somebody? What's working for them?
Sometimes it's very simple. People will say like, I only love blue and green. That's what I want you to work with. And, I will always kind of push people if I think they should go in a slightly different direction. But I also try to listen. If you have a really strong opinion, we'll make that work and maybe tweak those colors so it works for you. But I really just I let the space sort of tell me what it wants to be. If that makes sense, I can walk in and usually have an understanding of what I think would work best. Whether we're doing one room or a whole house, that matters as well, because I want things to be able to flow. I don't want it to look like each room has a completely different personality. I'd like the whole house to sort of flow. So it sort of depends. But like I said, I think it makes a lot of sense to be in someone's space and get an understanding of everything as a whole.
How do you push somebody out of their comfort zone? And I mean that in a good way, where they say, "Oh my God, I didn't know that. I didn't know I would like an orange pillow. That feels good." How do you do that?
Yeah. Typically, I'll give somebody a few options. So if you hire me to do your living room and you've asked me to put your couch a certain way and your TV here. I'll always draw it up for you, give you some imagery and show you what that could look like. And then I'm going to show you what I think is best. And I'm going to try to lead you to what I think would be best for your space based on obviously my professional expertise, but also with the help of renderings and drawings and imagery to really give you a sense of what that space can look like and feel like. Typically, people will say, "Oh, wow, I never thought about that. Let me think about that and get back to you." And typically they'll want to go in that direction because you hired me for my expertise. You knew you needed me, so kind of let me help.
Sure. And then when you do renderings, is it what I'm thinking that it looks like your room except changed around? Is it that detailed?
It is. So it really depends. I have some quick kind of SketchUp renderings that might not look as photorealistic that we can do really quickly for people to give you maybe 5 different renditions if you want to see every different sofa that we've talked about. And then I have something that takes a little bit longer and is a little more of an investment for someone to have a photorealistic rendering of exactly what their space is going to look like.
While we're talking about renderings, I do want to share that there is AI and a lot of the stuff that we see, that we look at, like, oh, look at that living room. Oh, they're really good chance that it's not real. It was generated. It's not the real deal. It's so funny. I just saw, there's a big thing trending now, TikTok. There's a gorilla chair that looks like a gorilla. It's like furry and like just mushy. You just want to get in between this gorilla. It was AI generated and some company in Japan duplicated it. It's not even close. And they're trying to sell it now. But my point here is that you can't duplicate it. It wasn't real in the first place. So, and I do marketing. I needed a picture. I'm just going to illustrate this. We're doing a website, needed a picture of a woman. This is what I typed in, AI, woman smiling, carrying cardboard box in a white storage unit that's located outside. Button press, 8 seconds, something like that. Done. Looks real. Just like that. So I think everybody should keep in mind the stuff you see may not be real. So come back down to earth, because some things can be duplicated, but some things cannot. What's your favorite room to work in? Is it the kitchen? Gosh. Is it the living room, bedroom?
I think I love all of them really. I would say if I had to pick one, I think the kitchen, because I think for most people, that is where everybody is, right? Yeah. That's where everyone congregates, whether you're a big cook or even if you're not, everyone sort of is in that heart of your home, around your kitchen island, or, in my case, kind of in my way while I'm cooking, everyone's in that space. So I think that becomes a really important part of someone's home. And I do some new builds and things as well, but I do a lot of renovations. And I think that can be such a transformation. I still love those before and afters. I love to see, what we started with in this amazing kitchen that we have now. It's probably the greatest transformation.
Wow. Is it still the kitchen is the focal point? Is that still happening? Open concept?
I would say it's not as open as it was. I think I let the architecture of the home kind of tell us what that kitchen wants to be. I think it depends how you live. Some people love a big open space where your kitchen and your dining and your great room are all one big space. And other people like a little more separation. I think it depends on, if you have kids, if they're little, if, you have aging parents at home. There's a lot of different things to think about. I also think it depends on, how you're utilizing your home. I do a lot of outdoor kitchens as well. Those outdoor kitchens become just as important as the indoor space, which is kind of a fun thing to work on.
I didn't know that you did outdoor living spaces.
I do. Yeah. Honestly, I didn't do it a lot. And then COVID happened and everyone was kind of stuck in their homes and there was only so much you could do within your existing footprint. So, let's take it outside. So I started working with some landscape architects and some pool companies and have done some really cool outdoor living spaces since then.
So I want to share with you that in my last house, I renovated the backyard and wiped out the trees that were there, like half the yard. They were all like scrubby brush anyway, for worried they would, fall down. And so I got rid of them, planted grass, put in a pool, patio, pergola,
Mhm.
everything. Did some of
Yeah.
the work myself. I love electrical, I trenched out and did all of that, monitored the project. Um, I love tropical. It came out stunning. It was just,
Yeah.
it was, I feel like at this point in my life, I came, I conquered, I moved on. However, however, that project, along with working very early hours, younger kids, and this is I'm talking like 7 years ago, not a
Mhm.
long time ago, gave me an ulcer.
I bet.
Legit. I'm not even
Yeah.
kidding. It was on my birthday. Um, that 7 years ago ish. I actually went to the hospital
Oh
because
my God.
it was to that point, like, what the hell is wrong with me? And
Uh-huh.
I'm sharing this because I will never again do anything like that. Next house, which is on the horizon as I wait, for the right one in the market.
Yeah.
Um, I will not do it without a designer. All of that. It's just not worth trying to do it alone. It's just
Mhm.
not, even
Mhm.
input from others. It's work. Why do you
It
want
is.
extra work? It's not, there's parts of it can be fun to do it alone. But if you want to just walk in and just feel like, or walk out to your backyard and, we're good, find somebody like yourself to do it. What's your background? How did you get into doing this?
I feel like you should make a commercial for my site by telling people you can do it by yourself, but it's not fun. Let me worry about the details and you just come home and enjoy
Oh
the
man.
process, and you get to pick a couple things, but you don't deal with the problems. Or, we try to make things really simple for customers. Like, issues do come up, and I'm not going to call you until I have a solution for it. So we're going to make it easy.
Mm.
But my background, so my bachelor's degree is in psychology. I wanted to be
Now
a
we're talking.
counselor.
Now we're talking. Yeah.
Yeah, which is kind of interesting because I do say that this is sort of like marriage counseling for people a lot of times. I'm in the middle, like, okay, they got their way on the bedroom. Maybe you can get your way on the kitchen. Let's try to compromise. But I realized when I was starting my master's program that I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to be a designer, and that was always something that was interesting to me. So I went back to school for design and worked at an architectural firm for a number of years, doing commercial work, mostly some hospitality. And then, my commercial customers kept asking me if I could do their house. And the firm I worked for didn't do any residential. So I started taking on projects here and there just for people that asked, and just became a word of mouth kind of thing, and just built over the last 15 years.
Nice. Yeah. You talk about, those commercial projects. Whenever, whenever I approach like my backyard or anything, it's for me, WWDW. What would Disney do? I visualize what it would look like. How would a resort, how would they do a resort? How would they do that? How would the bathroom look? Just to,
Mhm.
in my mind, take it, a layer up, because let's
Mhm.
face it, you go on vacation, you walk in a hotel, you're like, yeah, wow, this is great. You're wowed. You really
Yeah.
are. So I don't
Mhm.
know. In my brain, I kind of look at it that way. Um, what's some of the trends they're happening now, still around? Anything on your mind that you could share?
Trends. Let's see. I mean, I love that kind of the warmth of color is coming back. I think gray had a really long moment, those really cool gray tones and blues. And now, brown is kind of coming back, and some of the warmth, you joke about orange, but those kind of 70s sort of colors are back, which is kind of fun.
I could be
Um,
swayed. Listen, I could be with the right design and designer. I could be swayed. It's okay.
exactly.
Again, orange on the
It might
wall.
have a place. It depends. Um, I love kind of the mixed metals. I love that it doesn't
Hmm.
have to be super matchy. I tend to come at projects, I want your space to feel like things have been collected and curated over time. I don't want it to look like you bought everything out of a magazine or I did everything for you. Like, I love to stage people's shelves and do your mantle and make it look beautiful, but I also want to take things that are maybe your favorites and put them in there and make sure that it really feels like you and it doesn't feel like me.
Sure.
Well,
it's a great point. Great point you bring up there, because many of us think that everything has to match exactly and it has to have that certain look. Like when you buy a couch, guilty as charged, where the pillows come with the couch. And I think that's part of my boredom of my living room, that it matches. Hey, imagine if, there was a red pillow or favorite, certain blue pillow there. And of course, in my understanding, and share, your secret sauce, that if you're going to have a color, it needs to be picked up somewhere. It needs to they need to talk to each other, right?
Need to talk to each other. Yep.
Yeah. Like, any other thoughts there in the Nina secret sauce?
The secret sauce. I think, in terms of color, I love pops of color in a throw pillow, in a throw blanket. I think those are really easy to even just buy new pillow covers every season and just kind of change those out. If you have more of a neutral wall and a neutral sofa, and maybe you have some color in your rug, little decor items, pillow covers, those things are really simple fixes that you can change up your interior every season, once a year, whatever kind of works for you. It doesn't have to be a really large scale change all the time to make a big impact.
Yeah. So you're saying that subtle can be a big deal.
Certainly. And you'll feel that when you walk in. You know what? I mean, it's like your clothes. You walk in your closet and you're like, ugh, I'm bored with this. And all of a sudden you get a couple new pieces or you get a few new accessories and it kind of reinvigorates you again. I think the same is true for your home. Adding in some actual live plants to bring a little life to the space, changing up the texture of a lampshade, just very small little details, as long as you love it and it feels like you, I think can really work in your space.
I've heard that having plants is essential in any design, in terms of, psychologically speaking, or even energetically speaking, that it grounds you, and it doesn't have to be a real plant. It just needs to be a plant. And now a layer deeper, and love your thoughts on this. There are many designs now where it incorporates plants, earth, like a wallpaper that could look like flowers, but there's a reason for that, because it's bringing you back to center and grounding you. What are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, everything I do has a plant, whether it's real or it's faux. It doesn't really matter. Like you said, it just has to be a really nice faux plant and look real. But that kind of biophilia element really grounds you to the space. I think it adds life to a shelf. It makes you feel just grounded and calm, even if it's a bold floral pattern. I think that botanical vibe really works for everybody's space, no matter what your design aesthetic is. Some people like that really bold tropical wallpaper or a big tree in their space, where other people want something more subdued. I think it does the same thing. It still makes us feel grounded to the space and feel calm.
What's the most unusual thing that somebody has asked you to do? Anything stand out? Just interesting request, and then you had to execute it.
Well, let's see. So I did an outdoor project a few years ago where I had designed this beautiful infinity pool and this beautiful pool house, and we were going down this path. And then he decided that he actually wanted me to bury all the equipment and everything under the ground. He didn't want to see anything. He didn't want a pool house. He just wanted to look out into the wilderness and see the woods. Like, how do we take all of this equipment and all of this stuff and bury it? So we actually created,
and to make it so you can service it. That's another thing.
Yes. So thankfully we had the topography of the backyard was a hill. So we were able to build a room into the hill that you could access kind of from the backside. It's almost like if you think of an old school root cellar, but it's made of steel. We buried it into the ground pretty much under the pool. And so he has this view that is completely unobstructed of woods and, the property he loves. He has this amazing pool, and yet you don't see any equipment, you see nothing. That was kind of
Wow.
cool. We
Wow.
had thankfully we have a really great group of architects and engineers that work closely with us, so we can kind of tell them any unique things that are going on, and they help us figure out how to do it. I always tell people, like, you can ask me for anything, I'll figure it out. It just may take us a minute. So that was really interesting. I had a new build a few years ago that the husband was a big hunter, so I had to really put some deer heads and a full-size bear and different things in the design, which was a little tricky, but we did it and made it look kind of cool.
Interesting. It's like,
not my aesthetic, but hey.
yeah, well, the customer's always right. So that's what they
it's
wanted.
not about me.
Yeah. Well, it's a testament to what you do when you get that request, and like, we'll find a way. There's a way to do that. Even the hidden pool equipment, I was thinking, as you mentioned that, like, how are you going to do that? And I have a visual of the hill. So it's on the back end of the hill, like the pool's over here and it's over here.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah. Why didn't I think of that?
I know. It was after we did it, I was like, oh, this does make sense.
Yeah.
I do like it.
I mean, I hid mine with seagrass and that, but so here's the things you learn. So I put seagrass in, whatever you want to call it, the grass that you chop it down at the end of the season, in the fall, and get rid of it. And then it grows, but it grows, all over the place. Put too many of them, and you can't cut them in season.
No.
So if I would have known, and it was okay, it wasn't a big deal, but it obstructed a lot of view. And it got to the point where now you're in mid-August, now they're heavy and they're like tipping over. So then I would have to take like kite string and like around hire a designer. That's it. That's all I'm going to say.
Hire a designer. And then, thankfully, like I said, I have a great team. I have a landscaper I work closely with, because as much as I know things about the interior and now more about the exterior, plants are not, I could know what looks pretty, but I don't know how it's going to grow or, what we could do instead. So it's good to have, some experts to consult with on the team as well.
I mean, I did a lot of the landscape work and maintenance and all of that, but I could never be a landscaper, like a true landscaper, because I can't pronounce the names of the flowers and the plants. like a doctor in medicine. Like, how do you say that? I don't know.
Exactly.
Nina, how do we find you if somebody wants to start the process? And I would imagine that you can do work virtually as well.
Yep, I can do work virtually. I can do work in person, try to meet everyone exactly where they are. So my website is inspiredspace.design. And then they can reach out via my website. It'll shoot me an email. My email is inspiredspacedesign@gmail.com. And then Instagram, we keep probably the most up to date within our posts and our stories about what we're working on. And that handle is An Inspired Space.
Oh yeah, I got to check that out. I love looking at pictures, designs before and afters. And maybe next time we get together, I could share a screen with you and you could show us some stuff maybe you've worked on, some different ideas if you want.
Sure.
It's always fun.
I'd love to.
Yeah, awesome.
That sounds great.
Love your energy.
Thank you.
Your passion as well. Like, I detect that this is your purpose. You found your purpose.
Oh, definitely. Yep.
Yeah. All right.
I'm lucky.
Thank you so much for being here. We'll catch up next time. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. We're coming right back.
Bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.